And good afternoon. We welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. This is the aforementioned Goon. I'm the lonely little Ironhead, and we've got lots to get into today, including, we said, Penn State basketball desperately needed a win over Illinois, and they got a resounding victory over the Illini Goon. And, a couple of things about it. One is it just does show you, we keep talking about, but I mean, the Big Ten, any given night, man, like it is just really hard to win in that league. And you can have a team that's hot and a team that's cold, and it doesn't guarantee anything with that particular game. The other thing is, I will say, Penn State, for whatever reason, matches up really well with Illinois, obviously, this season. I mean, both these games were decisive wins for Penn State, and obviously it was just a fun game if you're a Penn State fan. Fun game to just sit back and watch everything unfold.
Jalen Beckett's dude, he couldn't miss. I mean, at one point I just started laughing when he did a step back corner 3-pointer late in the game, and I'm like, I think that's what Illinois was finding. Like, okay, we got no shot at this.
Yes,
nothing. We have nothing. But again, I know this is like pretty much turning into my call sign, but we've talked in the past, like literally you live by the three, you die by it.
Yep.
And Illinois has been on the ass end of two beatings because Penn State got hot behind the 3-point line.
No question.
I mean, really hot. You have to say it was the best game they played all year. I mean, Illinois is not a small team. They have big guys, and that was Penn State's bugaboo all year. If somebody's going to pound it down on them, they can't, they got to accept it. And they matched up very, very well.
And it's funny because I was talking with a buddy of mine, and it's just funny how quickly, I just want to bring it up here again real quick so I don't misstate anything. But we talked going into that game with Illinois. We were talking Tuesday that, again, it felt like this thing could snowball completely away from Penn State. If they lost to Illinois, like it was going to be hard to find wins down the stretch for this team. Coming off of that win and that performance, like you could draw up a not unrealistic scenario where Penn State loses only one game the rest of the way in and gets itself right back on the bubble and maybe inside the bubble with, again, a couple of wins in the Big Ten tournament as well. But and it's kind of like the NFL, right? Like we talk about that all the time too. It's like, you look at the schedule and you start putting wins and losses, and then it plays out, and the script sometimes completely flips. But
absolutely, it does.
Again, the fact is, anytime you're looking at the schedule, and especially with a team like Penn State, where, again, if it's on, it can beat anybody in the country, and if it's off, there's not a lot of teams that it can beat if it's struggling the way we've seen Penn State struggle at times. But when you again look at the remaining schedule and what Penn State needs to do, and we've been saying all along, I think 500 in the Big Ten gets Penn State in the conversation and maybe in the tournament. And that's, 500 including the tournament when it's all said and done.
But hey, man, they might get to the tournament and play Illinois.
Correct. And that's, you're hoping
Yeah.
that's the case right now if you're Penn State, which is kind of funny in and of itself.
We know they have Rutgers left, and they have Indiana left, who are two very, very good teams. But Rutgers is down there top forward, so they are beatable right now.
Well, and
and they have beaten Indiana once.
Here's the remaining schedule.
Okay,
exactly. So they're at Indiana. Or at Minnesota on Saturday night, which is again, a very tough but winnable game, right? And
correct.
I mean, we're going to say that over and over
You're not
here.
missing sleep getting ready to play Minnesota.
Right. I mean, that is certainly a game that you don't look at and say, man, they're going to have to play out of their mind. They're going to have to play well. Again, I'm certainly not sitting here telling you chalk up at Minnesota, at anywhere, as a win. But do you chalk that up as a place that you could get a W this season with this team? Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. That's possible. So again, and
That's
by the way,
Saturday
they're 6-9. Correct. They're
Okay.
6-9 in the conference right now. Yeah, it's a 9:00 our time tip on Saturday night. Then they're on the road again at Ohio State. Again, you get in real trouble if you start. Oh yeah, Ohio State's struggling. Yeah,
that's a down year for Ohio State, but still, they can beat anybody, like you just said.
Correct, especially at home. But if, and it's a huge capital I, capital F, but if Penn State gets those 2 wins, right? That's 2. Well, one good road victory and another. I mean, it's a road victory in the conference. That's
still a name.
That's that you can't. Not say that that's not good. And that's significant. Getting back-to-back road victories, again, if you're able to do that, now you're back to 8-9. Then you have Rutgers at home, and now you have some momentum on your side. And as you said, it's not full strength.
They're down their top guys. So
the only game I look at, and again, I wouldn't say, never, no way, no how. But at Northwestern seems really unlikely with the way that team's playing. And again, maybe it changes in a couple of weeks.
Correct.
You never know with the injuries and all of it. Maybe, the success of this last week catches up with them, all of that. But that, to me, is the one game that looks daunting right now, just with the way, Northwestern coming off wins over Purdue and Indiana is pretty doggone impressive.
Who's a gambler just called their book.
Absolutely, it's a lot.
Penn State money line.
But then you're back home against Maryland, and again, I think Penn State at home.
Bad loss.
Yeah, home is winnable against anybody, and yeah, they should. They being Penn State should have a chip on the shoulder for that one. So again, you're 6-9, 6-9 in the conference right now. These next 2 road games are absolutely huge to me. If you can get both of them and then take care of business at home, and again, it is a very tall order to do all of that. I understand it. But it's also not, and then you say, okay, go ahead and take the loss at Northwestern. Now I think you get yourself right very squarely on the bubble going into the Big Ten tournament again.
Correct. You're not playing Wednesday. You got a Thursday. You got a Wednesday bye. So you start Thursday. You get a win there. You go against one of the top 4 teams after that. Might be Illinois. It might be Rutgers. Again, we just said teams that they beat.
Yeah.
I mean, they can beat.
So
I don't think
this
they
stretch
could beat
run,
personally, but that's just I don't know if they could with the size.
I think it's very unlikely. I never say never, but yeah. But
nobody can match up with that guy. He's 7'4".
No. So we'll see how it.
The Wisconsin game last week.
How it all plays out.
To hurt.
Yeah, that one, and truthfully, I still go back to yes, there's no question that one is still a dagger to the heart. I also, though, still go back to the non-conference and the games with Virginia Tech and Clemson. And those were
winnable.
I mean, they were right there. They were there for the taking. And if you had won both of those, again, I think you could afford to be 9-11 in the conference. And if you can get a couple of wins in the Big Ten tournament with those non-conference wins under your belt, I think you're in. I mean, at that point, we'll see. Again, a lot to play for, obviously, here for Penn State. I don't know the likelihood of them having another night like that, or Pickett having another night quite like that down the stretch. But I do think the schedule, to your point, Goon, kind of plays out nicely in terms of giving them an opportunity, because you do have the extra day here and extra time on Saturday also to get ready for that Minnesota game. So that is a nice chunk of time in terms of preparation and rest and recovery, which I think right now for this team is also a crucial component, trying to keep its legs under it.
They're playing a very short bench, and these guys are going to wear down. So you're precisely right on top of it.
And then you come back, and again, it's a shorter trip, obviously, to Ohio State, and that's Thursday. So you, again, have that extra day in terms of preparation, scouting, and rest and recovery. Again, I'm certainly not sitting here telling you that it is a lock of any kind that they even win one of those games. But, as we sit here today, it does feel like a possibility. Yeah, I don't think Penn State has a chance of winning a game. Zero. There is no way Penn State makes the NCAA tournament. That's an ironclad guarantee.
That's an ironclad Ironhead guarantee.
There's no way.
Lock of the year.
No way that can happen.
Beautiful.
So
no, but they are. I mean, honest to God. I mean, I like. You and I were both Pat guys, but I love how Shrew has come in there and he's put his stamp on this team.
Yeah.
In 2 quick years. I mean, these kids are playing as hard as Pat's team did and all that. So the core was there from Pat's team. But who he has brought in has really brought into the program. And you could see they really like him.
Well, and I'm telling you, Pickett, I think you could argue at this point, Goon, that he's the best player that Penn State has ever had. I mean, you can make that argument. There's certainly some other guys.
That's
Yeah.
That's never happened here.
No. Not since Jesse Arnell,
exactly.
Right?
By the way, did you see the all-time scoring games in the history of Penn State?
So
Arnell's name's all over it. It's
all
crazy.
over it. Yeah. No. That was a very, very impressive and unusual performance that Pickett had for Penn State basketball. And I do think
his season high was 26. He had 24 and a half.
Yeah, I mean.
but the thing is what the announcers were saying, who's it, Jess Settle? He was actually making some fantastic points. He was saying he's not the guy going out there and taking all of the shots. He's more of an assist dish man.
But let me ask you that because it prompted a discussion with some buddies of mine about whether or not Pickett should try to take over more of these games down the stretch. And I truthfully, I could argue that either way. I mean, obviously, if he has a game like that, by all means. But, the danger is if you try to take a game over and the defense is ready for you and, right, I mean, you've got to be willing to take what they're giving you. But if they are smothering you, right, like you've got to get your teammates involved.
Right.
So, I mean, it's not like Jalen Pickett just, decided all season that I'm not going to completely take over a game. Yeah, tonight I'm going to do that, and now maybe I'll do it. That's not quite the way that works. But I am going to be interested to see, especially in these next 2 road games, Goon, just kind of what both Penn State and Pickett's approach is in terms of, let's get Pickett going early. And if you're Penn State, let's see if we can ride his coattails a little more here. Not that they haven't been to some extent all season. I mean, again, I'm not, it's not like he came out of nowhere and wow, this guy's pretty good. Again, I would argue he's having as good a season as anybody maybe in Penn State basketball history. I
mean, he's a first team Big Ten player.
Yeah.
I think that's a guarantee. I really do. I don't
do
think
too
we've
right
had
now.
that. Was Taylor Battle?
I don't know if he was first team.
Crispin. I don't know if those guys were.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty special
first team All
stuff.
Big Ten is which is pretty much a second team All American in my opinion. Like that's how good the conference is and players in it. I mean, there is All American consideration going on for him right now, and that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean, what a late bloomer. He goes to Siena for a couple of years and does what he does, and then transfer porters to Penn State. I mean, geez, good job, Shrew.
We'll get into some hockey and wrestling talk here as well, but did want to acknowledge Charmarette Curtis and her retirement. And can I just shoot down because there are a couple of I really just haven't seen any of the social media, but somebody I was talking with on the campus earlier today said that they've seen some stuff and that they know for a fact, and I know maybe not for a fact, but I know darn well. There is some speculation, I guess, out there, and just to quell it, I'm just telling you there is nothing to it, that this is part of the new administration and that they're wanting to make a change. I can assure you that the athletic director and this athletic director and Charmarette Curtis, I think if anything, his hiring and having Pat Kraft in charge of that athletic department maybe gave Shar some moments of reconsideration. But this is, I mean, she has put a whole lot into this program in this sport. And listen, for those that don't know, I'm just telling you, I see it up close with Cale and his coaching staff, but all of these coaches, I don't think we appreciate, I don't think it's possible for us to appreciate the amount of time that these coaches have to put in to be able to be successful. The amount of time that they're away from their families, that they're on the road, both with the competitions and the recruiting, and then, going out and promoting the programs and doing events with alumni and camps and all of that stuff. I mean, it is, the 40-hour week is laughable to collegiate coaches in any sport. I mean, that's not even remotely a consideration to only put in 40 hours.
Off season, you're still in there 50 probably, to be honest with you.
Minimum. Well, and in sports like, and I think it's probably the case for Shar too with field hockey, but in sports like wrestling, I mean, Cale will tell you that they spend less time on the road during the season, the collegiate season, than they do over the summer. Those guys are on the road between the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club members and the international competition, and then scouting like Fargo and some of the other high school tournaments. I mean, they are not around in the so-called off season because they're out, again, doing coaching and developing and recruiting and the whole bit. And
Shar
it just
was the
does.
Epitome of Penn State, man. She really, truly.
Yeah,
was.
I don't know. I don't think you can name a coach who, yes, was more. I mean, maybe Joe Paterno, but more all in on Penn State and doing everything they could to help promote and
Joe and
buy
Russ,
into.
But they weren't literally Penn State alums. I mean, Shar was a Penn State alum.
Yeah,
did it, All-American field hockey, lacrosse, all of that stuff. I love her story. So she was an 80 Olympian when they boycotted Moscow.
Yeah,
I mean, that sucked. And
Big
then
time.
By the time 4 years later, I think she was well into coaching, and I don't think she really got back into on the field hockey, on the Olympic dream. That stinks. There's somebody who trained her whole life. It's like David or Zane or all these guys training for the Olympics. I mean, these guys have a 4-year window, and if you hit it right, good. But if some people hit it wrong, I mean, if they had missed one of the Olympics 2 years ago for David, I mean, hell, he's got to wait 6 more years, total. It's nuts to think about, but it just stinks for her because she's such a good person. And I mean, in that sport, in field hockey, I mean, the pinnacle of that sport was always the Olympic Games, and how they take it away from you like that. But how she handled herself, I mean, I know her personally. You know her personally. She's an absolute gem. Loves Penn State. She's a good human being. Always out to support everybody. But what I always said is all of her girls, they were always like, they weren't snooty, they weren't snotty, they were athletes and this and that, and they were cool girls. Yeah. I mean, I know that you're athletes and this and that, but you have other sports who have a little air of arrogance to them. The field hockey girls were always like Shar. They really had Shar's personality. Yeah. And that was just like, we're here to play and we're here to win and stuff like that. And again, but you ever ask Shar to do anything? First person to the door.
Every time.
Everything.
Yep.
So, and good luck to her. I mean, she's been around a long time, man. I mean, it's not like she got. Again, she wasn't forced out. It wasn't remotely forced out.
Yes,
I think it's just her time, and it's just move it. Time to move on, and good for her. She deserves it. She deserves a nice retirement. So
yes, she does.
A great woman, a great coach, and a great Penn Stater. I mean, she should be. If she's not, if there's a Penn State Hall of Fame in athletics, she should be one of the top tier people.
Yeah,
so.
Best of luck and thanks for
I would have forgot that. Thank you
a
for
lot of
up,
wonderful memories for Shar Marette Curtis, and wish her the very best in what we hope is a long, prosperous, and enjoyable retirement because it no question is well earned. Penn State hockey, Goon. This is about as big a weekend as I can remember for Guy Godowski's squad. Just an opportunity here. We keep talking. Well, I keep talking about it. Man, it'd be just nice to sweep a big weekend. Well, it's not going to get any bigger than this, and it would just love to see them be able to capitalize on the home ice and take on the team that's atop the standings right now in the Big Ten, ranked second in the country in Minnesota. A couple of 6:30 games, so plenty of time for the students and fans to get stoked up during the course of the day and bring the enthusiasm. And I just think this is kind of this series to me is what, going way back to when Joe Batista first started contemplating the thought of, man, if Division I hockey was brought here to Penn State, like this is what you were envisioning, an opportunity to play a top team, to know that you're going to be competitive and you have a chance to win these games and to set the stage for, you know, postseason success like we've not seen in these parts before. Again, it is not a series that is going to make or break the season, and I understand that. But man, what an opportunity at hand! You
at
win
home.
If you can win these two games. Very tall order, I get it. But if you can win these two games, you talk about the difference in I think mindset and impression that others have of Penn State hockey, and the confidence at this stage of the season that it would have to give the players within that program.
And they need it.
I just think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Hopefully they can, close the deal again. Minnesota is playing as well as anybody in the country, so it's not going to be any great shame in certainly splitting the series or even losing both. But boy, at home, you have to relish the opportunity here if you're a Penn State hockey player. Yeah.
I mean, you said it. I mean, Joe Batista, looking back 15 years ago when hockey came around, would he have ever thought of this? So in essence, I'm going to say it's a game. It's a Saturday night whiteout game versus Ohio State or Michigan. 1 versus 4 in the country type of thing.
Yeah.
With college game day here all day, that should be the excitement that's going on around here, and you can actually feel it in the air a little bit. I mean, I know it's Thon weekend, and there's a lot of kids that are out. I mean, hell, I had to drive across town today. I mean, it took me like 40 minutes to get to town. I mean, everybody and their mother is out in downtown, and I think they were going to classes. I don't know.
It's possible.
I don't know if they're just getting one last couple belts in before they start dancing tomorrow night. I don't know. It is what it is. Not going to judge. No, but I mean, there is definitely a feeling in the town of like a big football game weekend. That's what it feels like with the hockey team going on right now, and that's great.
Yeah,
you said it right. You said it. Joe Batista, he envisioned this 25 years ago when the ideas came in his head 15 years ago. God bless him.
Yeah,
this is exactly what it was supposed to be about.
Yeah, I do think it's just going to be a whole lot of fun at Pagola both nights, and certainly I think Saturday night, if they can win Friday night, that crowd is going to be just all kinds of ramped up Saturday night. They'll be ramped up Friday night from the outset too, no question. And that is as good a setting. Not that I've been to other college in person to other college hockey settings, but I'm just there's no way there's a better setting for college hockey anywhere in the country. That place, when it is rocking and rolling, is, I mean, it's just electric. It is a really fun. If you've never been to a Penn State hockey game, even if you're not a hockey fan, we've taken some people up over the years that it's like, yeah, okay, well, we'll go with you. We have extra tickets, and they always go away. It's like, wow, that was an unbelievable
easiest
experience.
way to make a person a hockey fan is take it to a live hockey game.
No doubt. Yeah,
the sights, the sounds, the noises you hear, you don't get that on television. One is you can see the puck so much better when you're live, but you hear the puck hitting the sticks, you hear the guys hitting each other, the grunts, the groans. The hitting the post and the crossbar is probably one of the great noises in sports because it
is
echoes around the arena, but you don't really get it on television. So Yeah, anybody has a chance to go to that game, either one of those games, get up there.
Yeah.
Should be a fun time, man.
Absolute blast.
And you're right. They do need this because they have had, I mean, we've talked about 4 weeks now in a row. Like, hey, they could go get 2 in a row, and they have struggled to get 1 at times, let alone 2. So what a way to right the ship. And we've talked about how guys, his MO is that he peaks at the right time. So what better time to start peaking than right now, right? 2 weeks before the tournament. So
yep,
let's get it on.
That'll work. Penn State Wrestling wraps up the dual meet season on Sunday against Clarion.
Good shot.
And the Nittany Lions are closing in and certainly expected to cap off their 7th undefeated season in the last 8 years and build a little more momentum heading into the Big Ten tournament in Ann Arbor in 2 weeks.
So yeah, it's Edinburgh this week.
Clarion on Sunday. Yep.
1 week and off, and then the Big Tens.
Correct.
1 weekend off and nationals.
Correct.
Good, because my liver asked me.
Yeah.
My liver was trying to figure out to time
the dealio.
So in essence, the Clarion matchup is the SEC playing the week before their last game. They're playing Louisiana Tech.
Yes.
And yeah, I got you. Nice little warm up, get the younger guys. I mean, that might be a long. I mean, you tell me. You know, we talked about like in football, is too much time off bad?
Yeah, I don't think so. For a few reasons in wrestling, I don't think it is because one is the caliber of competition these guys have in the room, which obviously is not bad. So if you want to get a big time match and get a feel for guys that are better than anybody you're going to face in nationals, you can do that over the course of a week or any given day when you're on the Penn State campus. But also, I just think all coaches obviously are trying to peak for Big Tens and nationals. I don't know that anybody, you could argue maybe Dan Gable in the day has done in the history of the sport a better job of doing that consistently than Penn State's current coaching staff. I mean, what Cale Sanderson, Casey Cunningham, Cody Sanderson do in terms of understanding exactly what these guys need to be able to be at their peak, in particular at the NCAA tournament, but at Big Tens as well, is remarkable. I mean, it's been unprecedented in terms of the individual success that Penn State has had in the semifinals and the finals for the wrestlers that get there. I mean, we've not seen
I got a question
that
for you.
happen. And I think, again, part of it is knowing how to use that time, push hard, make sure the body has the chance to recuperate, recover, get your legs under you, the whole bit, and be ready to go. And again, it's been very consistently under Cale Sanderson that this team does that year in and year out.
Weight-wise, do they have specific coaches? So is one of the coaches the lighter weight guys, and then some goes.
Yeah, I mean, generally Cody's working with the lightweights,
and
Casey
sets?
in the upper weights.
Like 4 weights or 5?
Well, they're
each?
both working with 5. Yeah,
okay, 5
now
each.
I mean, there's some. Yeah, it's not like, all right, this is my kid.
Yeah,
you don't come over and you don't talk to Shane Van Ness.
What if he recruited him and had a personal relationship?
Yeah, I mean, but generally, yeah, Casey's working with the upper weights, 165 up, and Cody's working.
So what I'm
25 through 57.
I always compare it to football because that's my knowledge, and that is that the old man's job, the head coach, the CEO, which what it is now. It's what it is. I mean, Cale is the CEO, and he has to listen to his position coaches about, hey, how are their legs? What do you think? This and that. And then he makes the assumptions of that. And he's watching them all this stuff. So I know Cale gets involved with practice a whole bunch physically.
Yeah.
But he can tinker back and forth with the uppers and lower weights. But he ultimately has a decision about practice schedules and stuff like that.
Sure.
So
yeah, I mean, it's a pretty collaborative effort. But yes, I mean, at the end of the day, if there's
does he
disagreement,
change, or does he just straight statement like, oh, we did it like this 10 years ago, we do it now?
No, they every year they are every year they are making little adjustments on all kinds of things. And obviously they also, I mean, they have some things that have worked and they're going to stick with. But yeah, they're every year they're looking at little tweaks they can make to help develop. And it's really a fascinating process, and there's a lot more involved, I'm sure, than even I realize. And but in picking their brains a little bit over the years, it is fascinating, all of the different things they take into consideration. And without getting into specifics and just over the years, but if it's a younger kid and they see something that is fundamentally not right, they may not adjust that during that freshman season because it's something that the kid's used to, and they don't want to get into his mind about, all right, let's over worry about our elbows being in. If you're having success with it, and we'll work around it right now, and then as soon as you get into the offseason, it's, hey, by the way, one of the things we need to work on for next year, your elbows are out here too much. You need to, and I'm making that particular example up, but I'm saying there are little things that they will see that they know need corrected, and depending again on the kid and the situation, they may not make that correction because, again, they don't want to get in the head of a kid and have him overthinking a particular situation if, again, overall he's having success. Now, if it's something where, again, they're struggling early on and they see, well, my gosh, the reason you're struggling is we need to make, they're obviously going to make the correction. They're not just going to let a kid, but if the opponents are taking advantage of something and it's not costing at this point, they may, they will just let's hold off, not overwhelm with, all of these different things that we could work on. Let's just zero in on what he's doing well, focus on that, and then we'll start the process again. Immediately after the season's over, they'll go back and, okay, man, that was great. Yeah. Wonderful. And it's why you see, one of the reasons that why you see the national champions even making those leaps from one season to the next is there's always things that you can correct and work on. And when you have time to do it and get it to where it becomes part of your natural routine and feel, right? Like that's how you can take those leaps in the sport. But, it's not that they're correcting, and it's just one of those things. I mean, it makes sense once you think it through, and probably football coaches and everybody is, I'm guessing, are doing that. But it's one of those things you, as a layperson and just somebody watching, it's like, I'm thinking, well, if a coach sees you doing something wrong or that they can change to make it better, man, they're going to do that. And it's like, well, no, not always. It depends, again, on a lot of factors, and including, a kid's overall style and what works and how much a particular correction may help versus, okay, now he's going to be thinking about that all the time and he's going to get away from the things that are working for him. It's just, there's a lot that goes into it.
It's interesting. I would love to pick Cale's mind. I wonder if he keeps logs.
You would not believe the records that they have.
Like type of thing?
Yes.
Because the old man was known. I mean, what I'm saying is that the old man would watch practice.
Yeah.
And he'd have his little book and he would write little notes down. And then what would happen throughout game practice and this and that, he would go home and then log them into his journal type of thing. Mm-hmm. Where Cale was on the ground beating the tar out of kids to practice all day and night. He doesn't have a pen and paper in his back pocket.
No, but when he goes home,
he'll watch films and
not even watching films. He'll
smart guy.
Cale is about as perceptive of a person in general. I mean, Cody has talked about this over the years that nobody can read a room, wrestling room or otherwise, like Cale. I mean, he can survey and see, all right, this kid is not hustling today, or that, this kid, we need to tone down a little bit. His observational powers and his understanding of the sport and what kids need, it really goes across the board. But Cale is just exceptional at being able to see and read what is happening and what is needed with a given individual or a given situation. It's a remarkable talent. And again, all of the coaches have. I mean, Casey is as good at breaking down and analyzing, what works, what doesn't work, what adjustment would really help a kid as anybody I've ever seen. And Cody is as good at the mental side of it and understanding how to push the right buttons with kids. That staff is just remarkable as a whole.
They don't want to break apart, right? They all rather stay here and do this together, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would never say never, but I will say they are all very, not even just content. I mean, very happy, but beyond happy with what they have going right now. Not just in terms of the success, but the input that they all have, the roles that they all have. They're comfortable with the roles that they have within the program. They obviously enjoy each other's company. I mean, that they are spending more times with each other than they are anybody, including wives and kids and all of that on the planet. So you don't keep that core together for as long as you have if you don't like and respect and appreciate one another. And yeah, I don't think, again, I would never say never if the absolute right opportunity came along. I don't know. I could see one of them leaving and taking something else, but I think it would have to be a really special situation, and I think it would be really tough right now, just with the family dynamics as well, with all where all of their kids are right now, and the closeness of the relationship with the families as well. Again, I don't think anytime soon you're going to see that group break up.
You said Cale could read a room. So we had a celebration of life for our mutual friend, and he read the room very well that day. He said, "You people are drunken idiots."
Well, there you go.
It didn't take a rocket scientist to read the room.
He picked up on that.
No, but he sat with us for 4 hours and listened to us, and we were laughing and joking and stuff like that, and he was fantastic. Just sitting there listening to the stories about our mutual friend, Marty Lane, and he loved every ounce of it, and just taking it in, saying this is where my life would be had I not chosen this life, and my God, I'm so happy I'm here with not looking like those guys and all of that stuff. So he's just a special human being, dude. I mean, he really freaking is.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking this past weekend, like, honest to God, don't let him hear this. I mean, he is going to go down as possibly one of the greatest coaches in the history of sport. Sport.
You're not going to get an argument
wrestling,
from me.
Sport. I mean,
yeah.
Proof's in the pudding. I mean, people could say Joe is the greatest of all time and this and that, but the proof's in the pudding that it's Bear Bryant. And then you got to say Saban's ahead of Joe with the 7 national titles. I'm sorry. You have to say that. And it sucks.
Well, it depends too. I mean, in terms of accomplishments, yes. There are
point.
Because it's the same thing we get into. Not to get too sidetracked, but there is a difference between accomplishments. Like there are truly great coaches who never won a championship in whatever their sport was, but they were just great coaches, got the most out of the talent they had. And then there's accomplishments like Tom Brady. I mean, you cannot argue he's the most accomplished. You can debate whether or not he's the greatest. I mean, there's certainly an argument to be made that he is the greatest. But again, Joe Montana, we've talked about this over the years, but I still think Dan Marino is as good a quarterback as I've ever seen. I get it. No championships, no rings. I'm just telling you, if you told me you have to pick one guy to throw the football for your team, Dan Marino is on the very short list of guys I'm considering, and considering strongly, even over guys like Brady and Montana. because again, I just think in terms of just throwing the football, that dude was really, really special. But listen, so going back to Cale, to me, and I'm certainly not impartial, so take that into account as well. But I'm just telling you that guy, the accomplishments are undeniable and put him on the short list of most accomplished coaches, period. But what I'm going to tell you is that above and beyond that, the dude and his staff are exceptional coaches in terms of being able to break stuff down, get the best out of kids. And I don't mean just on the wrestling mat. What they are able to do to set these kids up for success in life and to have an appreciation for the opportunities that they're given and the humility that they show and the work ethic and all of that. I would argue that I don't see how anybody could be a better coach. There might be people that have more accomplishments, not many, and not if he keeps going at the pace he is.
Right? You're not
correct in all of sports. I'm talking
the
about
history of sports.
But I'm telling you, in terms of just the actual coaching part of it, I don't see how anybody could be better at coaching their sport than what Cale is. And again, it goes above and beyond, especially at the collegiate level. To me, to be a great coach, it's not just that you're putting out a great product on the field or the court or the mat. It's that you're helping prepare these young people for life and all of the challenges that
there's more than 10 guys on a team.
Yeah, and you look
like
at
that.
And I think I just did a podcast with a guy yesterday and we were talking about the lessons that wrestling provides and what I've enjoyed about my time as broadcasting Penn State wrestling. And one of the things that really has been most enjoyable for me, and listen, I love obviously calling the national championships and the big moments for Bo Nickel and David Taylor and Vincenzo Joseph. I mean, those are all fantastic things and love them and wouldn't trade them. But some of the things that will stick out to me the most are guys like Adam Lynch and James English becoming an All-American, and guys that never Adam Smith was another one, never became an All-American. Brad Pataki, but the work ethic, the commitment they had to the sport, to the program, and the positive difference they're making in other people's lives as they've gone out into their careers. It's special stuff. And again, there's no question that the Bo Nichols and the David Taylors of the world are making a huge difference out there as well. But there are so many guys that have come through this program. Patrick Higgins is another great example who is just doing fantastic stuff with younger wrestlers and passing that passion and life lessons and all of that on to countless young people who are then going to go out and make a difference in the world as well. And it's that whole effect and impact that coaches, right? I mean, great coaches at any level can have. I mean, youth coaches, high school coaches, college coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get a good one who knows how to set you in the right direction, right? The power of the impact that those guys can have is kind of mind-blowing when you sit back and think about that ripple effect and all of the lives that ultimately get impacted positively by these guys because of what they've done. And it's, including a bunch of people that they will never have met, but because they taught lessons that were absorbed by young people, and then those went out. I mean, it's why I think Joe Paterno's legacy in Penn State country is cemented.
Ask anybody I know if I've
it is.
ever been late for anything in my life since I met Joe Paterno.
Yeah, and but I mean, it is, and the lessons that Cale Sanderson gives his team before the practices, having often little to nothing to do with wrestling, but getting those messages of gratitude and work, and not going for immediate gratification and those types of things. And listen, on an individual day that might not be impacting, but when you're preaching the same message through different stories over the course of 4 or 5 years, or these days 6 or 7 years of your collegiate career, I mean, some of that stuff you can't help but absorb it, right, and understand, and eventually, even if it's not until 5 years after you're out of school, you're going to come back and appreciate, oh my gosh, man, that stuff, now I get it.
I'll tell you right now, my experience with Joe, where we always used to sit there and say, I can't wait to get the hell out of here. This is bullshit. I can't stand it. It's too much. When to wake up, when to go to breakfast, when to do dinner, when to do homework, when to do this, when to eat that. And the thing's regimented. That in the real world took about 6 months to realize, Jesus Christ, the guy was right about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, every little thing he taught was amazing. And I do want to say this about Cale, and you could refute it or agree with it, but you've never have seen one of his teams underperform. Like usually, like any great coach has a team that lets him down. I mean, what is it, 11, 12 years now he's been here? And there have been so many teams that have over-exceeded what they were expected.
Yeah.
And then you have teams who did exactly what was expected, but you've never seen his teams not be ready to go under,
Yeah.
I'm going to say our 92 team. I constantly go back to those guys. Or say that the 81 team. The 81 team, or 79, that was the big team that Joe loved, right?
Yeah.
And he had a hard time managing that team because of 78 and how good they were and how much they peaked and how far they got stuck, and he just could not reach those guys. And it was partially his fault too. I've never seen that with Cale or his team. They've never regressed. They've never not wrestled the way they should have. I mean, there's a couple guys maybe.
Yeah.
But as a team,
but even
they
there,
pick them
it's
up.
been few and far between.
Yeah.
No, that's, I think, a fair point too, and also
like Saban has teams
remarkable.
that this past year he's furious that they had 2 losses, 3. I mean,
yeah,
he wasn't happy with that team. I mean, that team was supposed to be better than a 2-loss team in his opinion.
Yeah.
Cale hasn't had that. Cale has not had that team who's gone out there and underperformed, and that is an absolute feather in his cap, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
This pretty much become a Cale tribute hour here. Don't let him see this, people. Don't let him see this. We don't want him getting a big head.
That's always a real danger.
A real
with
concern with Sanderson. You know what I mean? He's a real cocky guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I did see David Carr last night. Did beat Keegan O'Toole in the featured match at 165, so 2 beat 1. And David Carr presumably will be number 1 in the rankings next week. And I keep saying I am so excited about this year's, both the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament. The Big Ten tournament, I will say the seeding at both, well, there's a few other weights, but the seeding in particular at 149 and 165 is going to be fascinating, because I don't know how you choose between some of these guys in terms of who should be seated ahead of another. I mean, head-to-head, this guy won. Well, yeah, but he beat the guy that's clearly going to be the 1
Correct.
seed. And, well, yeah, but he lost to the guy that's, going to be either a 4 or 5. I mean, it's –
And how do they do that, Jeff? Is it like a group of 10?
It's the coaches. Yep, coach. Well, it'll be 14 coaches.
14. How are they selected? What's going on there?
Yeah,
they'll Big Ten.
For Big Tens for their list. Oh yeah, for NCAA's it'll be it'll be a combination of the coaches' rankings and the RPI.
But the Big Tens may have weeded a little bit out by then.
Yeah, I mean you're going to get largely, the how you finish in the conference tournament has a ton to do with how you're going to end up being seated at the NCAA's.
So Cale goes in with other 13 of their coaches, and they argue.
Yeah, they'll have pre-seeds, and generally so there used to be a lot more changes that the coaches would get in, and sometimes, and you still will have, maybe a battle here or there that gets contentious. It used to be a lot more so. Everything now is so they can sit down with the analytics and say, well, listen, this is, and again, you'll still have the occasional argument and somebody really miffed over a particular seeding, but anymore the pre-seeds very rarely change much, if at all. Again, it's usually one or two that might be adjusted one way or the other, and that's it. There was a time where it was like 5 or 6 would be changed, and coaches would be not literally but figuratively at each other's throats over this is an outrage, and that stuff, again, I won't say it never happens now, but it's really pretty rare that there's much debate or discussion. Now, that being said, this year, I don't know. I would be curious to be in that meeting at 165, because I think, depending on how things play out this final weekend, but the Big Ten is kind of set right now. I could make an argument that Alex Facundo should be the 1 seed. I think he's likely going to be 2 or 3. But
the fact that you're saying he could be 2 or 3 is huge.
Well, you could make an argument that he should be 4. And it's not an unreasonable argument. Again, it's just going to be interesting to see how some of these seedings play out. Levi Haynes is going to be interesting too. My guess is he'll end up being the 2 seed. I could argue, based on comparative results, and that's always dangerous, but that he should be the 1 seed, even over Peyton Robb, who's number 1 in the country right now. But when you look at some of the comparative results, Levi has won more handily over some common opponents. I don't know that that's across the board. I'd have to go look at that, but I know a couple of them. It's like decidedly significant, the difference in terms of results, at least a couple of those common opponents. So I don't know. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And I'll be curious to hear if we do hear, how much debate there is from the I'll be curious to see, one, what the pre-seeds are, and then how much debate, and if anything does change as a result of the coaches meeting regarding the actual
first weekend in March, right?
Correct.
And I just announced that Bo is fighting his first MMA pay-per-view that night, right?
Yeah.
On Saturday night.
Correct.
Wrestling Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and then you go right into Bo.
Yep.
That's a hell of a day.
Be a good fun.
Why wouldn't they go Friday,
good
Saturday?
Fun day.
This
For
is
the
an
Big
honest
Ten
question.
tournament?
Yeah. Honest question, because they wrestle Sunday night.
It's like late afternoon. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if it has to do. My guess would be it has to do with the TV.
Well, yeah, you can't be wrestling Friday afternoon
setup. Well, no, in terms of conflicting with basketball. You could wrestle at any time. Not in nationals. You're obviously Thursday and Friday afternoon. But I think
the Big Ten tournament is on Fox and CBS by then. You think? Yeah, I think they'll be on national TV by then, Saturday.
Yeah.
Because the Big Ten tournament's the same time, right?
Correct.
No, I don't think it is.
It should be that same.
No, because there's 2 weeks off. Because usually Sunday is the end of the Big Ten tournament, and they start playing Thursday. So the Thursday of the Wrestling Nationals, I'm pretty sure. I don't think there's two
of nationals is
women's
the NCAA is the
women's Big Ten tournament.
Well, the NCAA tournament is the start of nationals.
Yeah. So, but then the last Big Ten men's title game was the Sunday before.
Oh yeah,
Thursday
you're right.
Nationals.
Yes.
So that weekend it's the women's Big Ten title, Big Ten championship. That's why they don't have the TV, so they can't wrestle Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
See that, Ironhead?
TV dictates a lot of what's done.
Absolutely.
in athletics these days.
Now, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
Not a question for you. I was actually asked by a bunch of people, like, when we wrestled Ohio, we were wrestling Iowa here, and they had the football team out there. They had Micah Parsons on television.
Yeah.
A true wrestling fan was probably like, I don't want to see these guys. You know what I mean? Or was it just the TV network trying to get some names to it? I know wrestling does a very good job of selling themselves, and they need to get out there more and more.
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you think the Penn State, I know football players revered and shit like stuff like that. Sorry. But, did it take away from the wrestling team that night a little bit with the Rose Bowl being there? And
I don't think so. I think it added to it, made it feel like
somebody asked me that, and I was like, I don't know. I really don't know how those guys feel about that, because I know that
no, because it's just additional
Wisconsin,
recognition
you
for the university. I mean, it's just
interviewed.
like I don't think introducing the Hodge Trophy winner at halftime of the football game is taken away from the football fans' experience and the football team's overall. It wasn't like they were brought out during the. It'd be one thing if they're wrestling. It's like, hey, come over here, look at this Rose Bowl trophy while we'll have the wrestling on in the background. But let's that wasn't the situation. It was during the break. So
get the crowd a little more into it.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a good answer.
And listen, part of it is right with all of the Olympic sports is you're trying to draw in as many of the casual fans, right?
Absolutely.
And part of that is, hey, let's if you're a football fan, tune into the wrestling because you're going to see some of the members of the team. Micah Parsons is going to be interviewed, and while you're watching, it's like, oh, you know what, this is kind of cool watching these guys do what they do too.
It's real easy to turn Penn State football fans into wrestling fans. It's like, we're really
much
good.
Easier these days.
We're really good
than it was
really
once upon a time.
To watch. You don't have to worry about like losing to Michigan and Ohio State every year. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that.
Well,
we're the hunted.
Yeah, at least for the time being.
It's fantastic, though. It's beautiful.
It's enjoyable while it's here. That is.
So I get to go see my man Creed Humphrey in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks out of Nationals. I guess he was a center for the Chiefs and stuff like that, but he's from Oklahoma. You hear what his comment was after the game?
No.
Because I'm the only one to ever snap to send to Mahomes, because he was Hurts' center at Oklahoma, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I don't know. I'm interested in meeting that guy out there. Did you see the picture of him if they won their playoff game?
He's did.
In uniform at the bar. He has his shoulder pads off.
Now that's the way to do it.
He has 2 12-packs of Michelob Ultra in his at the post game bar, like the locker room overflowed out to there. He's got 2 12-packs and he's walking back to the locker room with it. So funny stuff. So yeah, the wrestling thing is really starting to pick up, and I'm with Austin out there, and he's on the Olympic committee, or not the Olympic committee, but the Hall of Fame committee and stuff like that. They're always talking about how to expand and they always bring people and talks to me as like, I'm new to the sport. You know what I mean? What brought me into the sport? Why did I start liking the sport? I mean, I never wrestled in my life. And they listen to you because they are always looking to expand it.
Yeah.
It's like hockey. Hockey does a great job of trying to expand their game. It's just a tough sport to expand.
Yeah.
But, I mean, wrestling is one of the oldest sports, if not the oldest in the world.
And one of the things I think that that both are doing well is trying to be innovative, try to come up with creative events like the outdoor events at the football or baseball stadiums in both hockey and wrestling now. And I think that I
want a football game on a wrestling mat
is
and
a way.
Wrestling mat
there you go.
On a football field.
Well, the wrestlers do some football games on the wrestling mat.
Well, I mean, they really should. Like, Mike has got to go on there. He talks about how, like, he and Bo were great friends, and he did the workout with those guys.
Yeah.
Now, people have to realize, I mean, it wasn't like Micah was out of shape. It's just a whole different being in shape when it comes to wrestling. A whole different freaking world.
No question.
You got to train yourself for 2 hours or 3 hours of football versus 9 minutes. So.
Well, enjoy the weekend. Good luck to the Penn State hockey team. Good luck to the Penn State
Don't you come home
basketball team.
You lose a Clarion, you're out, Ironhead. You're
Nittany
out.
Lions trying to close out another undefeated season at Rec Hall. And good luck to all of you in Thon this weekend. Wonderful
Best thing that
cause.
Penn State has to offer.
Yep, really, really cool event at the Jordan Center this weekend as well. And rest in peace. I just saw. I didn't see earlier
Tim
today.
McCarver.
Yes, Tim McCarver. Rest in peace. I always liked him. I know. I feel like with almost every broadcaster, there's people that love and other people that hate. I always liked McCarver. I thought his stories were he just had a charm to him. I always thought, and I always enjoyed his broadcast. And obviously, he was a terrific player in his own right.
So another rest in peace is. I can tell you as much right now. My father was at the pearly gates last night waiting for Raquel to come through.
Yeah.
That was one of my
buddy of mine.
One of Moon's favorites right there, buddy.
Yeah, a buddy of mine is mourning that loss in a big way as well. So enjoy the Penn State sports weekend. Hopefully we have lots of good stuff to talk about when we get together with you next Tuesday. Until then, be good and be safe.